Attention! The joy detector has been activated in NYC. Just a heads up, the flower count per square foot has exceeded all safety limits. If you thought this city was just concrete and rushing around, get ready to be surprised. There isn't a single sad face or bare bush in sight. We're going on a marathon of the city's floweriest spots, starting on the Upper East Side. The cherry trees here look like they have a trust fund, with petals falling strictly according to feng shui against those perfect facades. Next is Central Park, where the cherry blossoms act like rock stars under the lens of 100 paparazzi. Finally, we hit Riverside Park, where the city finally exhales, mixing soft pink silk with the blue of the Hudson. Warning: side effects may include an uncontrollably good mood. Our walk begins here on Park Avenue. I specifically chose this spot as our starting point because this is where spring in New York truly blooms in the most beautiful way. Before us is an incredible floral display where the tulips and cherry blossoms make it feel as though the city has turned into a garden, if only for a moment. And the most interesting part is that it's not just a beautiful street. Tucked away behind this elegance and these flowers are some truly fascinating stories that I'll be sharing as we go. So today, we're not just going for a walk. We're going to slowly uncover this side of New York together. In the 19th century, this place looked completely different. There were no flowers, and there was no peace, only the roar of trains and thick smoke. Back then, open railroad tracks ran right through the center of the street. It was such a gritty industrial area that the prestigious Park Avenue we know today was simply called 4th Avenue. Everything changed when they decided to hide the railroad underground. They filled the space above the tracks with soil and turned it into gardens. That's when the street was renamed Park Avenue, a name chosen specifically to evoke a sense of luxury and comfort. What we see now, these flower-filled medians, are known as the Park Avenue malls. This river of blossoms stretches for miles through the Upper East Side, creating one of New York's most iconic springtime views. These malls used to be much wider, with plenty of room for pedestrians, benches, and public lounging. But by the early 20th century, as cars took over the city, the street had to be adapted for traffic, and the green spaces were narrowed down. Today, it's not exactly a park in the traditional sense, but rather a decorative green corridor running through one of the city's most elegant stretches. We experience it through car windows while crossing the street, or just passing by, and it's that specific blend of urban energy and natural softness that gives this place such a unique atmosphere. In reality, the Park Avenue malls are a private gift to New York City. The gardens are maintained by the Fund for Park Avenue, which exists solely thanks to donations from the people living in the surrounding buildings. Can you imagine? The residents of these famous doorman buildings raise millions of dollars every year just so we can enjoy this fairy tale. Every fall, 60,000 tulip bulbs imported from Holland are planted here by hand. And these cherry trees are true survivors. They grow in extreme conditions. Right beneath their roots is the concrete roof of a tunnel where trains rush by every few minutes. This is literally a roof garden on top of a railroad. This year, the palette is especially delicate. A pink cloud of cherry blossoms paired with bright splashes of tulips below. By the way, the color of the tulips is always a surprise. It's chosen in advance, like a new collection for the runway, to ensure it perfectly complements the architecture and the shade of the cherry blossoms. This year, they chose these specific colors, and just look at how they light up the entire street. And you know what the most amazing part is? While we are admiring this fragile beauty, I can literally feel a slight vibration through the soles of my shoes. Right under these flowers, deep in the tunnels, trains are hurtling toward Grand Central Terminal. This is the real New York, where a fragile, carefully preserved beauty is hidden behind a facade of concrete and steel. On that beautiful note, let's keep moving. Central Park is just ahead. Leaving behind the elegance of Park Avenue, we've made our way into Central Park. Our destination is the famous Pilgrim Hill. If you're looking for that pink madness that takes over social media every April, this is the place to be. It is the true epicenter of spring blooms. The concentration of cherry blossoms here is so dense, it feels like the trees are competing for who can be the most lush. Why does everyone flock to this specific hill? It's all about the variety. These are Yoshino cherries. Their flowers are unique. They bloom earlier than others and have a delicate, almost white or pale pink hue. Because the trees are planted so closely together on the slope, they create a solid floral canopy. When the wind blows, it triggers a pink snowfall, the perfect moment for a video. Be prepared, you won't be alone. In the spring, Pilgrim Hill turns into a massive open-air photo studio. You'll see professional photographers, models, families in matching outfits, and bloggers with tripods everywhere. Finding a patch of empty grass for a shot is a mission in itself. But that's the charm of spring in New York. Everyone is buzzing with excitement, wanting to capture a moment that only lasts a week or two. By the way, looking at this sea of pink, it's hard to believe that cherry blossoms haven't always been here. If you watched my video from Roosevelt Island, definitely check out the channel if you missed it. I touched on this briefly. Here in Central Park, the story feels especially grand. It all started in 1912. It was a massive gesture of friendship from the Japanese government to the United States. They sent several thousand saplings to America at the time. The most famous part of that gift went to Washington, D.C., but New York City got its fair share of trees too. They were transported across the ocean on massive steamships and then distributed among the city's most iconic landmarks. It was those very first saplings that laid the foundation for the splendor we see today on Pilgrim Hill and around the reservoir. But the most interesting part happened later. New Yorkers fell so in love with those original Japanese trees that in the 1950s and 70s, Japanese communities and philanthropists made additional gifts to replace aging trees and expand the groves. For New York, cherry blossoms are more than just plants. They're a symbol of resilience. Think about it. These delicate-looking trees survive harsh winters, strong ocean winds, and the smog of a massive city, only to transform New York into a fairy tale every single spring, right on schedule. City workers and volunteers protect every single tree. They even have special bloom maps that experts use to monitor the health of every trunk. If you thought Pilgrim Hill was the only pink cloud in the park, get ready to take some notes. Central Park is actually a whole constellation of locations. You have to make it to Cherry Hill at 72nd Street there. The Yoshino cherries literally embrace the old fountain. And if you want scale, head to the reservoir. Cherry blossoms are planted along the entire perimeter. The east side greets you with a soft white foam, while the west side boasts the vibrant pink of the Kwanzan variety. Near the reservoir, you can still find a couple of veteran trees that are over 100 years old. Just imagine, they saw New York before most of these skyscrapers even existed. Spring in Central Park isn't just a season, it's a true celebration of life. After a long winter, the park literally explodes with color. Everything comes alive at once. The first picnics appear on the lawns, street musicians return to their usual spots, and the air fills with that sweet scent of blooming trees. It's the moment when even the most rushed New Yorkers slow down just to turn their faces to the sun. Surprisingly, almost everything you see around you is the result of colossal effort and engineering genius. In the mid-19th century, there was nothing here but uninhabitable swamplands, muddy quarries, and jagged rocks. But in 1858, landscape architects Frederick Law Olmsted and Calvert Vaux introduced their ambitious greensward plan. Just imagine the scale. To create this natural landscape, more fertile soil was brought into the park than was excavated for the construction of the Panama Canal. Over 4 million trees, shrubs, and plants were hand-planted here. Every lake, every hill, and even this bend in the path was meticulously planned and created by human hands. One of the most brilliant ideas was to hide the city noise. Have you noticed that while walking through the park, you barely see any cars? In reality, 4 busy city streets cross the park, but the architects sunk them into deep trenches below ground level and screened them with thick bushes. Thanks to this system of bridges and tunnels, the paths for pedestrians, horseback riders, and traffic never intersected. You can walk the entire park from south to north without stopping at a single traffic light. The creators wanted every resident of the concrete jungle, regardless of their wealth, to have their own piece of the forest to escape the urban chaos. And today, in the spring, when the magnolias and cherry blossoms are in full bloom, their vision feels truly magical. This park is living proof that humans can create genuine nature where it never existed before. Central Park is massive, and it's impossible to show you all its hidden gems in just one walk, from the Shakespeare Garden to the secret waterfalls in the North Woods. If you're interested in learning more about the park, or if you have other favorite locations in New York City you'd like to see in my videos, be sure to let me know in the comments. I'd be more than happy to film them for you and share all their most fascinating secrets. This lake is the most picturesque body of water in the park. While Pilgrim Hill was the epicenter of that pink madness, this is a place for quiet, reflections, and leisurely boat rides. The lake is entirely man-made, and it was the very first part of the park to open, back in the winter of 1858. But it wasn't for boats, it was for ice skating. On the very first day, 8,000 New Yorkers showed up to test the fresh ice. The Loeb Boathouse is a park icon. The tradition of rowing here has been alive for over 150 years. In the 19th century, there were even authentic Venetian gondolas, with gondoliers to give residents the feeling of a little Europe in the heart of Manhattan. Today, you can rent one of these famous blue rowboats and feel like a character in a romantic movie. Walking here, you start to realize just how colossal Central Park really is. It stretches through the heart of Manhattan from 59th to 110th Street. If you decide to explore the whole thing on foot, be prepared to set aside at least 2 or 3 days. It's simply impossible to see it all at once. Around every corner, there's a new story or a secret garden. For those who want to see more in less time, there are some great options. You can rent a bike and zip along the park's main loops. It's a very New Yorker thing to do. And for a more authentic and relaxed experience, you can always book a horse-drawn carriage ride. It's especially popular with families. The clip-clop of hooves on the pavement and the cozy carriage make it feel like you've been transported back to New York 100 years ago. Still, I recommend doing at least part of the journey on foot. It's the only way to truly notice how the park's character changes from the bustling, tourist-heavy south to the almost wild and secluded north. After walking through the bustling city and Central Park, I headed over to Riverside Park South. I really wanted a change of scenery and some time by the water. This is a special place for me. There's always a surprisingly calm, almost meditative atmosphere here that helps you slow down and just breathe. Spring feels different here than in other parts of New York. Because of the proximity to the Hudson, the air feels fresher and the space feels open and filled with light. Along the promenade and the park slopes, magnolias and cherry trees bloom in the spring. Their delicate pink petals look incredibly poetic against the backdrop of the blue water and the industrial elements of the old piers. The fresh grass and new leaves on the trees create a real sense of renewal. The gardens, which are carefully tended by volunteers, are filled with early blooms like daffodils and tulips. Now I'm heading down the promenade toward downtown. Walking in this direction, it feels like the path opens up to meet the river, becoming wider and brighter. There are so many cozy spots to relax. Modern terraces, comfortable benches, and wide steps right at the water's edge. You can stop at any moment, sit down, and just watch the ferries pass by on the Hudson. In the spring, this place becomes a true oasis. You don't feel crowded here. There's only the fresh breeze and a sense of freedom. This is my personal recipe for the perfect reset. Walking along the water, looking at the flowers, and feeling the city slow its pace. Thank you so much for joining me on this walk. I hope you caught some of this tranquility and spring mood. If you enjoyed the walk, I'd love it if you gave this video a like. Let me know in the comments, have you ever been to New York? Which places stood out to you the most? And of course, I'd love to have you as a subscriber so we can keep exploring and discovering new places together. See you in the next video very soon.